Hi there, and welcome to How To with Ann Mahlum. When deciding to do this podcast, I really wanted to create something that could give people real tools on how to execute on certain things. So often we talk about things on such a macro scale that, yes, leaves people inspired, but with no real idea on what the steps are to make something in their own life happen. I challenge and encourage and probe my amazing guests to get granular and specific on their strategies, their mindset, their tactics, and their methodologies so that you can learn practical, actionable steps to best optimize your confidence, career, health, and wealth. What's up, everybody, and welcome to How To with Ann Mahlum. I am your host, Ann Mahlum, and today we are thrilled to have Katie Kaps join us. Katie is the co-founder and co-CEO of Higher Dose. She is the imaginative leader of a one-of-a-kind longevity experience at the intersection of wellness, health, and beauty. Higher Dose is passionate about designing the most effective self-care tools for boosting longevity and vitality and educating their community about the powerful benefits. Higher Dose is all about plugging back into the healing power of nature and prioritizing feeling our best from the inside out. And Katie's how-to today is how to biohack your health for longevity. And we are specifically going to talk a lot about women on this call. It's one of my pet peeves. I appreciate all of the male doctors out there, but I do feel it is really male heavy. So I'm so pumped to have Katie on today. Katie, welcome. Great to see you.
Great to see you too, Ann. Thank you for that intro. I'm really excited to be chatting with you because I know you're just as passionate about biohacking as I am, maybe even more so. So,
well, I might be passionate, but you're the expert and with all the knowledge to drop on all of us. So if you could just help our listeners understand, Katie, a little bit more about you, your background, and how you landed in this position and got so excited and passionate about this topic.
Yeah, for sure. So I actually, I studied international economics at Georgetown, and I planned on having a career in finance, which I did in the beginning. I started off doing consumer product investment banking at Merrill Lynch. And I started my career right before the Great Recession, when there were, Wall Street was booming. There were tons of analysts in my class. And I actually got a really amazing job offer lined up at a hedge fund called Oxif. So, I was kind of sitting pretty, thought I had it made with my finance career. And then, of course, the markets collapsed and I got my job offer rescinded. But in the meantime, I'd really become passionate about running, and I was running 6 miles a day, and I really just loved the energy and vitality that I got from long distance running. So I took that opportunity to actually pivot my career into wellness. I took the time to train for a marathon. I ended up out in San Francisco working at a venture capital firm that was focused on health and wellness companies. And once I met all these entrepreneurs that were just so excited about what they were doing and they had that passion and fire in their eyes, that's really when I decided I wanted to start a company. So I ended, reading about this company, Tough Mudder, that was like this obstacle course mud run event. It was very small at the time, but I felt like the concept had huge potential. So I came back to New York, started working for Tough Mudder, was one of the first employees there, helped grow the business from 10 people to 150, headed up international expansion and strategy. And after I had this amazing high growth startup experience, I knew that was the right time to start my company in the wellness space. And, not only was I super into running and endurance sports, but I really got into more restorative practices like acupuncture, colonics, more detox-oriented practices. And I was consulting for some wellness centers in New York, ended up meeting my business partner. She told me about the infrared sauna and said it was going to be the next big thing in wellness. And I tried it once. Sure enough, I was immediately addicted. It literally felt like you got that euphoric high from running 6 miles, but all you had to do was sit in a box and sweat. Plus, it had all these other amazing benefits like detoxing, made your skin look great, was just great for relaxation. So yeah, I knew that we had to start this company together. And that was about 8 years ago. We've changed a lot, pivoted a lot. But ultimately, I think we've built a really great brand, not only around infrared, but around getting high naturally, about next level health and wellness practices that can help you boost your vitality, longevity, and making this all accessible for people at home has been a big focus for us. We've really centered our, business, I guess, around wellness tech that we feel super passionate about, that we feel like really works. So our main pillars are infrared, hemp technology, and red light therapy. And we've built at-home rituals around this wellness tech to just help take people to the next level and boost their overall vitality and wellness.
Amazing. And talk to us a little bit, because you guys were more in person, brick and mortar before COVID. And it's COVID when really you guys made the pivot? Had you been talking about that before? And I just want to learn a little bit of what the response has been consumer wise of going to do these things in person versus doing them in their own home.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, when we originally started out, we actually saw the opportunity to combine infrared with hot yoga. So our very, very first model was basically installing infrared heating systems into yoga studios. And we partnered with, Y7 in New York, Yoga Vita, a couple other brands. But ultimately, it just wasn't a great business model. It was hard to build a brand around a B2B business. Yoga studios tend to not have a lot of money to invest in equipment and upgrades. So that's when we pivoted to, I think, the model that we originally became known for, which was our infrared sauna spas in New York. And the concept was like, think of like a tanning salon, right? But instead of tanning booths, you have infrared saunas, someone working the front desk. So from an investor point of view, right, that business model made a lot of sense because you could leverage one staff person over, multiple pieces of equipment, and it was scalable. And we made the experience super cool and unique. Our tagline was "Get High Naturally." The dose in our name stand for dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, which are your four main happy chemicals. So we wanted to really create an experience all around upping your happy chemicals. So not only did you come to our spa to do the infrared sauna, we had really cool lighting, Burning Man music playing. It was really this experience that transported you, and it almost felt like kind of a nightclub meets health club, which I know, we see a lot of that today, but this was back in 2016 where that concept was a little bit more cutting edge. And, what we found is right out of the gate, I think on the first or second day we opened, we were inviting wellness influencers into the location. So like Hannah Brofman, and she posted just one time that, sweaty, sexy sauna selfie that has now become iconic. And just from that one post, we got this kind of like viral impact of people like seeing it and going, "Oh, what's this? I want to try it." I mean, it was just so Instagrammable that we got other press and influencers in right away. And then because the infrared sauna really works and makes you feel something, people got addicted, and we've just totally packed out our locations for the first 2 years without really doing any marketing. But, along the way, we were getting asked to do pop-up events, at hotels or other partner locations. And we obviously couldn't lug around a 500-pound infrared sauna for a 2-day event. So that's how we came up with our infrared sauna blanket. And if you've never seen one before, it kind of looks like a sleeping bag, but it actually gives you the same sweat and experience of being in an infrared sauna. So as we were taking these to events, people started to ask if they could buy them from us. And we thought, okay, well, yeah, let's start with some small batches, sell them through our website, newsletter, and see what happens. And sure enough, we kept selling out of small batches. And then we, decided we wanted to improve the technology. So we went over to Asia and met with tons of manufacturers and had ideas for other upgrades we wanted to make in these sauna blankets. We consulted with experts like our partners at Clearlight, who've been doing infrared for 25 years, to help us develop our upgraded models. And by the time we got to our third version, we knew it was a product we really wanted to scale and, bring to market in a bigger way. So we started to put paid media spend behind it. And, sure enough, what we saw was that the sauna blanket business was growing at 400%, but the locations were only growing at 25%. So we made the decision internally to pivot towards product because we just saw it as more scalable, better margin. And then, the pandemic hit and really accelerated our plans. So once the pandemic hit, we had the opportunity to exit out of some of our leases and really just take our, resources and budget and devote it to product. And that's what we did. And we came out with our second hero product, which is our infrared PEMF mat, towards the end of 2020. We found that also, had tremendous traction. We sold out of our first batch in the first 2 to 3 weeks. And then the following year, we launched our red light face mask, which is really our intro into beauty and the red light therapy category, which we're super excited about. And then we also, the last 6 months have launched a consumables line that complements all of our wellness tech that I told you about. And at this point, we're really doubling down as more of a product company. We've launched in Nordstrom, Neiman Marcus, Saks. We're going to be rolling out with some other really big name retailers this year. And that's kind of where we put our stake in the ground as a product company, but we still see the benefits of the experiential component. And we're achieving that through more B2B partnerships with hotels, with fitness centers that can buy our equipment and have people try it there. And that's kind of the way that we're driving trial at this point.
Well, I have so much to say. One, I'm so proud of you guys. It's been such a pleasure to watch you and Lauren grow. And it's just like, I'm, female entrepreneur to female entrepreneur. I love that you guys are crushing it. And I want to say a couple of things about that. One, when you guys talked about the product and the infrared sauna blanket, one, I have one of those and I have told you I use it, 3-4 times a week. I love it. It really does work. And it's so efficient to just, whether I'm putting in a podcast, which I do whenever I get a massage, it's just like, oh, podcast. And I get to, sweat in a sauna. Great. Like 2 birds with 1 stone. But one of the things, 2 things actually that I love that you did, Katie, was when people think about doing things from an entrepreneur perspective, I think so much people get caught up in like, oh my God, then going to Asia, building this product. And it's like, oh my God, it sounds like too much work. Never going to be able to do it. And it's starting with those steps where you're like, people are interested in this. Let's try and see what happens. Okay, we sold out. There's something here. And taking things one step at a time and knowing that we might have to pivot, but we're not going to know without doing. And so many people try to plan in their head and have it all figured out, like from start to finish. And I'm like, it never works like that. You need more information and you're never going to get the information without doing. And yes, that might mean that you invest some money over here that doesn't go as planned, but now you see how the market and the consumers are responding to it. So it leads you to step 2 that you wouldn't have known otherwise. And as someone also who, of course, is in the fitness business and went through COVID, it's interesting how both of our companies, your company, you guys were like, wow, this is going to accelerate our at home and we're going to double down on that. And Solid Core, we were like, we are not going into virtual. We see everybody doing it. We do not have the team for this. We aren't a digital marketing firm. Like, we really believe in person for ourselves. We're going to have to ride this out and we're going to have to figure out a way to have some sort of online presence. And we really thought about, okay, community. And the small group classes is really what people love about Solid Core in addition to the workout. And nobody's doing that online. So while everybody else is having like 1,000 people, we're going to keep our classes to 20 so that we can provide this connection through COVID that we think people are really missing and are looking for from their fitness perspective. And we were super successful with that. And then we were like so bullish on in-person working out. We raised, $50 million at the beginning of 2021 and started expanding when everybody else was still, frankly, scared to open, closing studios, investing from a fitness perspective in their digital. And so it's just wild how we both took different approaches, knowing our business as well as we did, and doing what was best for us and not jumping on a bandwagon of like what everybody else was doing, and really paid attention to our own product. So just two examples, two different directions that worked out for, again, both of us, but really paying attention to what our consumers were asking for. Have you guys seen the continued expansion, Katie, now kind of post-COVID era with people wanting these products at home?
Yeah, we have. We've continued to grow without raising any additional capital and with a lean team. And that just shows you, the demand in the market is really there. I mean, the demand from retail partners is quite frankly incredible. Like, we have never been turned down. We have retailers knocking down our door, and they see the trends. They see what the consumers want. They understand that wellness tech is this way that's not going anywhere. And, I truly believe that the anti-aging and longevity revolution that we're seeing with, people like Tony Robbins, right, writing a book on longevity, that, this movement is becoming more mainstream. So I think this is just the beginning of, greater consumer demand for the type of products that we're offering.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. You guys got in really early, and I am super bullish on the longevity, and you seem to be hearing about it everywhere. So let's get into some of the benefits of the products that you guys offer, both with the infrared sauna blanket, the PEMF mat, and the red light therapy mask. So why are these things important for longevity?
Wow. I mean, the list of benefits for all three of these technologies just goes on. And it's funny because my business partner and myself usually divide up conversations on podcasts, and she usually deep dives into all the benefits. So apologies if I'm rusty here, but we'll just infrared. I mean, it's if you want to think of it in a simple way, it's kind of like a workout without working out. So when you're exposed to infrared heat, backing up a little, it's really, infrared is an invisible light that penetrates your body 3 inches deep, and that is activating water molecules that are stored below the surface of your body. So what that does is it pushes out toxins that you can't get out of your body really in any other way. And it also speeds up your heart rate to the pace of a light jog. So, one of the things infrared is known for is being 7 times more detoxifying than traditional saunas. It's one of the best ways to pull out heavy metals, environmental pollutants, radiation, like all these terrible toxins that we're being exposed to constantly in modern society. Infrared is sort of the antidote and the way to help pull those out. So that benefit alone is like insane. Mm-hmm. And up of that, you get a passive workout. So if you're in a infrared sauna from, 30 to 60 minutes, you're going to burn some calories. It depends, varies person to person, but you could burn, 300 to 500 calories in an hour session. So a lot of people like that too for their off days when they're not working out, to get in a passive calorie burn. It helps boost immunity, which again, in this kind of epidemics and that sort of thing, very top of mind for people. It has great beauty benefits. So infrared increases blood flow and circulation, and that's going to, basically make your skin look more glowy, help you build collagen because you're just getting more blood flow to your face, etc. It helps with sleep, helps with mood. It lowers cortisol and increases serotonin. That's part of how we came up with the name dose, right? Because it boosts your happy chemicals. So that's just infrared. And, it's a technology that's been around for over 50 to 60 years. It's been studied quite extensively. It's very safe. There are very few contraindications. It's been used by chiropractors, Olympic athletes, doctors, wellness thought leaders for quite some time. So it's something that, everybody should really be incorporating into their life. That pretty much has no downside.
Yeah, when you talk about the detoxification of things, the more you read about whether it's, frankly, cancer for the most part of it, and then what's crazy to me, how I feel like we should know more about cancer than we do. But a lot of these things are pollution. They are environmental. They are, metals in our body. And that can just be from frankly living and walking around, because there's just so many people who are really focusing on putting the right foods in their bodies, but there's only so much you can do about all the other things that we're coming in contact with through the air and breathing, breathing in and out. So from a longevity perspective, detoxifying the body obviously is super important for the reasons of just like anti-cancer stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I mean, heavy metals alone are super scary. Like they can cause Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, just like crazy neurological conditions that you definitely don't want to get. And
where does that come from, Katie? Where does heavy metal exposure come from?
fish, a lot of people are, it comes mostly from consuming large fish like tuna, swordfish, shellfish. And if you have like the old amalgam fillings, it can come from that. But just to give you like this is a personal snapshot. I, was, maybe it was this summer, I went to Greece, so I wasn't doing the infrared sauna, was eating a ton of fish. I moved apartments, didn't bring my infrared sauna with me. It was down in Miami, eating fish because they're such great seafood down there. And I wasn't thinking about it because I just, I'm like, oh, I'm resilient, I'm healthy, I do all these things. And actually, I even found in like 6 months of not doing enough infrared sauna, eating more fish, that my blood mercury level was elevated. So, you never know. And most people are not even thinking to check on that. But I think that's like huge causes of like chronic illnesses and disease and stuff that makes people sick and they can't figure out why they're sick. So definitely something to look into.
Well, yeah. And you hear, how many times do you hear eat fish, it's so healthy for you. It's so healthy for you. That the word like healthy gets thrown around all the time of, yeah, there might be a lot of protein and not calories in there. But what else is in there that could be causing you to not feel great? And Tony Robbins, actually, I know you mentioned him earlier, and I'm a big Tony Robbins fan, talked about that. I mean, he got mercury poisoning because of all the fish that he was eating, thinking he was making the right decisions from a nutrition standpoint and not understanding the mercury levels and all the swordfish that he was putting in his body. I mean, he almost died.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's how he started off his book, right? His levels were 127 and the acceptable level is 10.
Yeah.
And, so it's a real issue. And that goes to like another point that I wanted to make in our conversation is just that everything is so personal, right? Like to your point, like that idea gets thrown around that like fish is healthy, eat fish. But I think it's just so important for us all, especially as more and more technology becomes available, where you can like quantify yourself to get blood work done and get, customized vitamin packs and just know exactly what's going on with you and your body and make decisions based on that versus just the kind of random wellness advice that you hear getting thrown,
Yeah. And guys, there's a lot of places that do blood work now. Will come to your house. It's a few $100s. Like it's not a big cost. And if it's frankly an investment in information and understanding where your levels are and knowing what you need to be doing. I mean, I test my blood pressure, my blood sugar at home pretty easily on a consistent basis just to make sure things are, in line with where they need to be. But yeah, there's information is power. My boyfriend and I just went to Fountain Life, which is from Tony Robbins and Peter. I think it's Peter Attia that's invested in that, but forget the other Peter's last name. But David Sinclair, all these guys, it's this proactive healthcare. We got a full body MRI, CAT scan, blood work. We had to poop in a bag, spit for our DNA test to just try to get as full of a picture as possible, because we're both, as assumingly so, young and healthy, and we think we're doing all of the right things. But we want to know what we don't know, what we can't see or feel, and what we need to watch out for. So yeah, and again, it's really unfortunate that healthcare doesn't cover that stuff, and we're in a fortunate financial position to be able to do it. But getting your blood work done is not that inexpensive of a thing, and it, again, just really provides a window into what might be going on in your body.
Yeah, totally. And did you find anything surprising from that analysis?
We actually get the results back on February 12th or 16th. We have like a virtual call to go over everything. So, we'll share that. But if you've seen what's his face from Australia, not Chris, on the new Disney movie or the new Disney show that came out. I can't think of anything right now. But anyway, he had all this testing done and he found out that he had the Alzheimer's gene. That is, like he has this thing, and there's two types of Alzheimer's gene. One is more certain that you're going to get the disease, and one is just you're more prone to it. And then some of the things that you can be doing, to combat that. And we can't help what's in our genes, but we can be informed enough to know what's going to inflame that particular gene, or what's not going to work with our cells and what is going to work. I mean, I'm pretty plant-based these days, eat very little meat because of all the research that I've done. But listen, 25% of our fate is based off of our genes and 75% is lifestyle. So understanding what our genes are and trying to do the right things to put us in a position to live as healthy and as long as possible. It's one of the best investments I'm sure we will have made in ourselves.
Yep. Well said. Couldn't agree more. Well, I'm excited to see what you find out, and then what kind of program you start pursuing based on those results. So keep me posted.
Yeah. Brett lost his dad to a heart attack when he was 52 years old. So, Brett's got that in his family history, and just like, what do I need to know and be aware of that my dad could have maybe stopped if he was aware of that stuff. So yeah. Cool. Let's talk about the PEMF blanket. And Katie, anytime you want to chime in more too, like I know you guys did this fasting thing, a 3-day fasting window, and you hear controversy around, women shouldn't fast because we're different in our periods and all of these things. So anything specific that, to help females understand what they can be doing that might be different from the male counterpart would also be great.
Yeah, totally. Well, I guess since we're on that topic, I thought you might ask about our show Biohackers, where we tried different wellness practices and kind of took notes on how these compare for men versus women. And some of them were really outlandish and some were, more normal. But yeah, I would say from those experiences, the water fasting was definitely one of the most powerful for me. What I love about it is it's so simple and accessible, and it's not only is it free, you'll actually save money by doing it. I know like a lot of things that are unfortunate about all these wellness practices is that they are inaccessible, but water fasting is one anybody can do as long as you have discipline and motivation, and you're kind of just making sure that you're paying attention to your vitals and basic stuff like that. Fasting is an ancient practice that, I'm sure everybody's heard of some of the benefits, but I think what's really cool about it is just how transformative it can be in a very short amount of time. You can really like reset your system in a big way in 72 hours. You're going to be releasing more GABA in your brain, which is going to make you feel more calm and relaxed. Your body will start basically undergoing autophagy, where you start to like clean out the senescent or the dead cells, which is super interesting. And one of the biggest benefits of fasting, you actually release more NAD and human growth hormone as well when you're doing a water fast. And, like I said, the mental clarity alone, for me, it was worth it just from the point of view of like more focused, more calm. And to your point, a lot of women worry about fasting because we are on a different hormonal cycle than men. And they worry about it kind of like disrupting their period or whatever. But we actually did our water fast with a really great doctor, Dr. Mindy, who, if you're interested in water fasting, I recommend looking her up, Dr. Mindy Peltz. And she has a very specific women system for teaching women how to water fast. And basically her theory is that the best time to start a water fast as a woman is from day 1 to 10 of your period. So if you start your period, that's day one. And anytime in that like 1 to 10 day range is a great time to do a water fast because your hormones have kind of gone through a whole cycle and they're reset back to the baseline. So anyway, I thought that was just a really important tip for women. And I definitely recommend you guys going and checking out the episode and Dr. Mindy if you're looking for more information there.
Awesome. And what's your water fasting schedule now, Katie? How often are you doing that?
So probably every other month I would go for like a 3 to 5 day fast.
Wow.
And I'm experimenting because for me, it depends on your goal. If your goal is autophagy and really cleaning out like the dead senescent cells in your body, then pure water fasting is the best thing to do. But, for me, I'm not really dealing with a serious health issue. I'm looking for more of the mental clarity, the NAD boost. And I really found that just kind of a modified water fast and keeping my body in ketosis is really more practical and more sustainable for me. So, so for me, that looks more like I can have a bulletproof coffee in the morning. So coffee with like butter or ghee. And maybe, if I don't have that accessible, a coffee with half and half. That's really not going to kick you out of ketosis. And then if I find that, throughout the day, my blood sugar drops and I just feel like I need a little something extra, I'll also have a bone broth and that will keep you in ketosis and a fasted state. But I think it's good to at least try a pure 3-day water fast at least once to know what that feels like, because that is going to give you deeper benefits. But just based on your lifestyle, it might not be as practical. And the other thing I'd say about water fasting is make sure to get like a blood glucose monitor. There's a company called Keto Mojo that has them, and you can test out your blood glucose and also your ketosis levels. And that can kind of give you an idea of if you're in a healthy fasting range. So if you're in a range where you're getting the benefits, or it can also show you if maybe you're pushing your body too much. And if your blood glucose drops too low, then it might be a good sign that you should just, stop the fast at that point, which I've had to do once or twice just on how I was feeling and my blood glucose levels. I'd get 2 or 3 days in and my body would say, okay, this is enough. So
yeah, we don't have enough time today. There's so many things I still want to talk to you about. Let's do the NAD real quick, because you turned me on to Dr. Holland, and I've done some NAD IVs, and the energy I feel after those is amazing. I'm actually due, and you taught me talking to you today is going to cause me to reach out to him and see if he's available in New York next week. But why don't are you still doing the NAD IVs?
Yeah. So actually what I'm doing as part of this, when I found the issue with the heavy metals, which wasn't a huge issue, but like ideally you want 0 mercury in your blood. So when I saw that I had more than I wanted, I've been working with a basically osteopath who has me on this custom vitamin regime that's helping clear out all the heavy metals and just helping my body supercharge its detox capabilities. So what I've been doing is every other day, giving myself IM injections of glutathione and NAD at home, which is kind of feels a little crazy because I don't know if you've seen like IM needles, but they're about this big. So like 1.5 or 2 inches, and you have to stick them in your muscle. So it's like a little scary at first. Yeah. But it is nice to have that little constant boost. And yeah, I mean, I probably started to get into NAD 3 or 4 years ago, through meeting Dr. Holland, who, again, anybody who's listening, I recommend looking up Dr. Holland Chen for any, information about longevity and next level wellness practices to just optimize your health. He's a big proponent of NAD. And what it is it's basically, something that occurs naturally in your body that you can get through eating certain foods. And it really supercharges like all of your cells. It helps boost your mitochondria function. So anything that your body needs, if you get more NAD, it's just going to like supercharge your healing process, supercharge your brain function. It almost just kind of, if you're like a battery, right, and you're typically operating on like 60 or 70%, it's just going to take your battery charge to like 90 or 100%, just like that. And yeah, I mean, I think it's gaining a lot of, I guess, you know, a lot more people are seeing the benefits. It's popping up in a lot of these IB places now that you'll see throughout the city have NAD. And yeah, I would recommend I think the best thing you can do is trying it out for yourself. Again, it's like something that your body creates anyway, so it's not like super crazy or experimental. And I found that it boosts my energy levels like crazy. I don't know what your experience has been like.
Oh, it was insane. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I went to ride my bike in Central Park like an hour afterward, and I had a fixie. Like I didn't have gears, or I had a single gear, and like I'm like passing everybody, and it was crazy. But I'm a big believer, and you guys can do a lot of reading about that as well, of just how important it is to repair your NADs as your telomeres, I believe, at the end of our, you know, cells get shorter and shorter. Again, that impacts our performance, longevity, and all that stuff. I take Elysium on a daily basis, all the 4 pills that they have there for cellular health, the brain function, the metabolic health. And I've been really impressed with that company and the research that they do too. So yeah, I'm a big fan. And, you know, again, right, like there's places to start. I would recommend these things for people, Katie, of folks who are already sort of like, if you're not working out yet or sleeping or drinking enough water, it's like, I'm like, great, start there, right? But if you're already doing those sort of things and you feel like you're super healthy, I think this is how to take it, you know, to the next level if these things are important to you. But it's not a bypass for eating fruits and vegetables, for working out, for sleeping, for hydration. Like those things are important too. I think sometimes people think biohacking is like, oh, cool, I can eat all the cheeseburgers I want and like just do these things. And it's like, no, it's in addition to.
Yeah, it's true. Especially because, again, just going back to the toxin thing, it's like you can do all these biohacks, but then if you're not aware of like the basics of what you're putting in your body on a day-to-day basis, it's going to catch up with you. So
Totally. Let's spend our last 10 minutes here talking about alcohol because, you know, you and I met, I think, last summer, and I had just sort of told you, like, I've been exploring with, you know, alcohol and like not drinking, and just felt like I got to do something about this. I've allowed it in my life. And then you shared with me that you really had been sober for the last couple years and started in COVID after realizing that, like, same thing, maybe not an alcoholic, but just like, this isn't a healthy relationship with this substance, and reading and learning more, frankly, about alcohol because it's so ubiquitous all over society and our lives at every stage of our life, and really realizing what the shit is.
yeah, I mean, it's wild, right? Just exactly like you said, how ubiquitous alcohol is everywhere. And even like, you know, I mentioned I started my career in investment banking at Merrill Lynch, and talk about like alcohol being everywhere. It's practically like glorified. Like the more you can drink and still function and still kick ass at work, and then go out and party and drink at lunch, like, you know, especially back then, it was really glorified. And then it was just such a big part of like the social fabric of living in New York City and like your 20s and early 30s and whatever. And it just seemed like so much of social life was based around alcohol. So for so many years, I thought nothing of it. I thought nothing of having 3 or 4 drinks a day, because as long as I could function and do well and work and be productive, I thought it didn't matter. And, you know, obviously there were points in time where I was like, you know what, I'm going to take a little break here and just, you know, focus. And maybe it was like a New Year's resolution thing or whatever. And I would take a break for a couple weeks and then say, oh, well, I don't know, this event looks really fun, I'm going to go back to it. But at a certain point, I mean, it was like right towards the beginning of COVID, and myself, like many people, were stuck at home. I found myself drinking more, and it became even more obvious how pointless drinking was, right? Especially when you're just sitting in your apartment by yourself or maybe with one or two friends and you're like, oh, I just had 5 drinks last night. Like, where was that getting me? So I really, I put my foot down, made the decision to just go fully sober for a while, and it was transformative. I didn't have one drink of alcohol for a little over 2 years, and it completely changed my relationship with alcohol. So I have gotten to a point where I will have a drink here and there, but it's just such a, I guess, minor part of my life that it's not like I'm constantly looking forward to a drink or it's my reward. It's almost like, okay, I'll let myself have a little bit, maybe like half a glass, and it's not that big of a deal anymore. Like, I realize I don't need it to have fun. I don't need it to make life better. And I think there's this whole narrative that like, oh, drinking alcohol makes everything more fun or better. And if you just give yourself a long enough period where you're not drinking, then you can start to create new memories of having fun without it. And you can focus more on healthy things that really do bring you joy and that actually just kind of like lift you up in every way versus giving you this artificial high that kind of then takes away from you the next day. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's whatever category, Katie, that motivates you, because we're all motivated by different things, right? And alcohol, frankly, is stripping from us in a lot of buckets, whether you are concerned about your, longevity and health, long term, right? When you put a poison in your body, which is what alcohol is, the first thing your body has to do is get rid of that. So it stops doing all the other functions to try to detoxify you. So you're putting extra stress on your body to be able to do that. One of the first places where alcohol goes is your muscle tissue. So if you are spending hours, in the gym and your fitness is really important to you and you are looking for better results or better performance, and either one of those, alcohol is canceling or at least highly disrupting your ability to do that. So again, just think about all that effort that's going in there. And then it's just like, oh, well, what do people know? I mean, I used to go work out and then go grab a drink afterward. It's like, what an absolute waste of time. 3, the mental clarity piece of it, the relationship with yourself and other people, like the intimacy, the closeness that you're developing. There's no forgetting what somebody said. There's no, would I have said that thing if I wasn't drinking? Your prefrontal cortex isn't hijacked. So like you're really showing up as your full self, feeling amazing, every single morning and not having any form of a headache or cloudy or gloomy or tired. The sleep function, I mean, literally whatever, pick one of those buckets, and I didn't even name half of them, that alcohol is stealing from us, and use that for your motivation. Because I think a lot of people can be like, oh, like who cares 20, 30 years down the road? It's too far for people to think about. But think about what alcohol is potentially taking and stealing from you today. And as a woman, like I got really upset at the alcohol industry when I started to really dig in deep of like, there's no difference between alcohol and cigarettes, and how the government sort of stepped in and said, we're not going to allow you to market, advertise. And it's only a matter of time. I'm at least hopeful for that the same restraints get put on the alcohol industry, because it is no different. But it's still just, again, pitched to us as a single woman, as successful, as a mom, as a college kid, as a retiree, a birthday, a wedding, a stressful day, a long day, a rainy day, a fun day, Sunday fun day. Like every single fucking adjective for the type of day you had, alcohol is just sitting there waiting for you to make it all better. And I really got like mad and frustrated with the industry because they're making billions of dollars off of their marketing, and they're doing a great job at it.
Yeah, we got to fight back. And that's what, get high naturally. Like, want to get high, go do hot and cold therapy. Like, go, push yourself at a solid core class, and that kind of high is the one that's going to last.
Right.
You'll deplete it afterwards. But, like, the other thing that helps now, too, I don't know if you use, like, a Whoop or a Fitbit, or I've gotten into Oura Ring recently. And you can literally it just gives you such granular detail about your sleep and your HRV, and you can track like how even that one drink takes down your metrics. So if you're someone that like needs to see and be motivated by like data, I think that's also really helped me to just be like, okay, this is something that's clearly taking from me, and I have no desire to engage. So
Yeah, amazing. Well, Katie, thank you so much. This was all so helpful. And again, I'm proud to know you. I'm proud of the work that you guys are doing. It's so exciting. The products that you guys have made, I use them as well. And I think, the timing of higher dose and what you guys are doing, there's just so much attention focus. And we're actually seeing it at Solid Core too. Like we have classes at 6 o'clock at night on Saturdays and they're totally full. It's really cool to see this quieter movement, or maybe slower movement of people are changing how they're spending their time, what they want to be doing on a Friday, Saturday night. I know you and I talk a lot about even food, and it's like, you don't have to go to a restaurant and eat food to connect with people. Like go to a higher dose, go to a workout, go for a walk. We have let society put us in a place of so much consumerism, and like ingesting food and alcohol and drink, and like that's what has to be around social experiments or social connection. And we're starting to see it of like our class. Like I think we can have an 8 o'clock on a Saturday night class soon, and it would be full with people being like, I don't want to go to a bar, and I don't want to go to a restaurant. I want to eat at home, and I don't want to go spend money there. I'd rather do something like this. So I think it's really cool to be a part of that.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, I'm so honored to be on the podcast today. You're just such an inspiration to so many female entrepreneurs, myself included. So thank you for all your support and for everything you're doing. And can't wait to see how both of our businesses grow together and support each other.
Yeah, amazing. Katie, last but not least, where can people find you?
So you can check out Higher Dose at higherdose.com, or our Instagram handle at Higher Dose. And then my Instagram handle is at letter K, letter T, Kaps.
Katie Kaps. Awesome. And last question, because I have like 5 questions that I have on my podcast, and I usually ask one to everybody. For you today, Katie, like this changes over our life, but when you put your head on your pillow at night and go to bed, how do you know you had a successful day?
I would say if I made a difference for someone else, and took care of myself, had time to do something I enjoy, and I'm still making money at the same time. That's a successful day.
Amazing. Yeah, I asked that question because it's so different for everybody, and it's a good reminder for hopefully listeners that success defined by one person is not success defined by somebody else, and we all have to figure out what that means for us. And as somebody who has lived a few lives as a 42-year-old now, like the definition of success has evolved and changed for me, and I love that because it means I'm growing. It means my priorities and values are changing as I learn more, as I discover more, as I experience more. So I always think it's a really great question to ask folks.
Well,
awesome. Well, thanks, Katie. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Anne. You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.